بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. We were talking about Zakatul Fitra, and we said that we talked about when it becomes wajib, and we said it's after when Eid starts at the night until those that do Salatul Eid prayer until the Salat, and those that don't do the Salat until Dhuhr. And the Salat itself, it's not something that is wajib until the appearance of the 12th Imam, inshallah. So it's not a wajib salat, but it's inshallah good to do it. Then we talked about, and we said that we cannot give the zakat al-fitr in advance, and how much we should pay. I gave an estimate last night, and inshallah Yasin will give a more accurate. But it's somewhere going to be around $12. But they'll give you a more official or a more accurate, inshallah we'll give it either tomorrow night, inshallah, more accurate number. To whom is it wajib? Who has to give this zakatul fitra? Any person that is a Muslim who is mature, baligh, sane, financially able, they're not poor themselves, and is conscious during the eve of Eid al-Fitr. And for all those that are his or her dependents, their wife, children, and who he financially supports. So a person that has, for example, 4 people and that they're supporting, he has a wife and say 2 kids, wife and 1 kid here, or 2 kids, and then here they would have to pay 4. If it's say $10, it'll be $40, or if it's going to be $15, a little bit more, they would have to pay, for example, here they would have to pay $30 here, right? $60. So according to how many dependents they have, they would have to pay to them. But some ask, what about a kid that's not born yet, a kid that's in the stomach of their mother? Would they have to pay for that kid? And the answer from the Maraja they give is no. A kid that is born after the eve of Eid, that kid is counted after he's born. But the fact that he's in his mother's stomach, and that even though he has a ruh, he has a spirit, the fitra is not counted for him. It's after they're born. So even a child that's 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, that father or that person that is financially responsible for them would have to pay the zakatul fitra. If there's any questions or anything about this, you can ask. If not, you can give a salawat, inshallah. We're talking about ubudiyat, and we said that one of the best ways in marriage we can become a servant of Allah. We should view marriage as being a servant of Allah, and we can enhance ourselves, we can develop ourselves spiritually, we can have a program for ourselves. And one of the issues is that we have to think about is approaching marriage as an abd, as a slave, as a worshipper. And we said that this is very important, and it's going to change the way that we are going to live with our future spouse. Marriage, we said, itself is something that is very holy. If a person wants to reach Allah, one of the best ways is through marriage. There are many actions and deeds in marriage that if a person were to try to get that amount of reward outside of marriage, it would be very difficult. In other words, marriage is a shortcut in terms of getting a lot of reward and a lot of thawab for very simple acts. You see, like the month of Ramadan, it's very easy to get a lot of reward from fasting, getting your prayers answered, from recitation of the Quran. Or when someone goes to a masjid, how much more thawab is it than if they're not in a masjid, or a person that does ziyarat? But in marriage also is the same way. If you view marriage as a holy place, a place where I can get, and we're going to read the narrations tonight, I can get free from burning of hellfire. If I do certain actions or certain types of behavior I have with my spouse, I can free myself from the hellfire. I can, in some narrations, a woman can build a city for herself when she does a very simple action, say bringing water for her husband. So we look at marriage as a place just for the husband and for the wife to very fastly move towards Allah, become a better slave. And also it is a place where somebody can destroy themselves. Somebody can hurt themselves severely, because hurting a believer is more damaging than destroying the Kaaba. Right? There's narrations like this that hurting a believer's feelings is more damaging than attacking the Kaaba. So marriage, when we look at it as an Islamic perspective, we're looking at it as an opportunity. Also, we're looking at it as a conditioning, a place of self-refinement, where if I haven't been truly conditioned yet, I'm going to increase my jihadun nafs, I'm going to increase my strife against myself and my desires so that I can become a better and pious person. Because what is the core fact in ubudiyat, in being a slave? What causes a slave to rebel against her master? It is the nafs. It is the nafs. The ego. Either a person thinks they're something that they're not, or their desires. And in marriage, when they go in and they're managing their desires, they're calming their ego down. When their spouse might say something bad to them, they imagine they're nothing. They bring their ego down. In actuality, they're combating and fighting against their nafs, which is so important that Ayatollah Bahjat would say, read this chapter of Jihad al-Nafs, which is in Wasail al-Shia. Read this chapter. This section and this core belief is what's going to make you an abd. And this comes about in marriage very greatly. Now let's look at some of the narrations about this great opportunity in marriage to bring our status high. Just the fact that you enter marriage, right when you get married, even if you don't do anything, even if you sleep, the narrations say that you are in a better position than a person that's unmarried, is fasting, and is praying all the time. Immediately, just the fact that you did this nikah. This is one of the blessings of Allah. That the fact that, don't we say in the month of Ramadan, if somebody sleeps, his sleep is ibadat, right? It is an opportunity. So is marriage. Right? When a person does that nikah, their sleep is now worth more than other people that are praying and fasting, those that are single. In other narrations, it says that I've said these, that two of the units of prayer is equal to 70 of an unmarried person. So these opportunities are both for the man and for the husband, and they happen immediately after marriage. Of course, when somebody views marriage as an act of worship, when they see marriage as an opportunity to become a slave, these things will have a greater impact in them. But there are specific things for the men and women, specific opportunities that I'd like to share tonight. One of those for the men, it says that if a man sits with his wife, جلوس المرء عند عياله أحب إلى الله تعالى من اعتكافه في مسجد هذا. The Prophet of Islam in this narration says if a man sits with his wife, not of course doesn't bother her, sits like a real human being, sits and talks with her, basically makes her happy, that it's better than being mu'takif. I'tikaf is that action that you do for 3 nights, for 3 days you stay and you fast and you limit yourself to only the masjid. It's better than someone that does i'tikaf in the Masjid al-Nabi, just sitting with their wife. So you see these narrations that it is a great opportunity. You don't even have to spend all that money going all the way to Medina or spending all that money for ziyarat. You can get the reward of ziyarat at your own home. The other narration for men. For those men that make the women that they're mahram with, those that are either their wife or their family members, their mother, their sisters, if they make them happy, if they give them farah, if they make them happy, farahullah ta'ala yawm al-qiyamah. Allah will also make them happy. In another narration, before I say this narration, because this is one of those narrations that says بِغَيْرِ hisab. Some people will enter heaven, and there are narrations like this about certain actions. They will enter heaven without being accounted for. The angels will say, where was this person going? Right? Where were you doing? Were you not counted for? And then they tell them, I was of this group. And they say, okay, you don't even need to be counted for. You go into heaven without hisab. Right? They don't look at everything that you did. You don't have a hisab, which is one of the greatest actions. It says if a husband helps his wife, and it basically isn't tired, or وَلَمْ يَأْنَفْ فِي خِدْمَةِ الْعِيَالِ دَخَلَ الْجَنَّةَ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Without any type of accountability. There might be barzakh. There is barzakh, of course. There might be other things in the day, but when it comes to the hisab, he doesn't have hisab. Some say, what about these narrations? Are they credible? What kind of accuracy are they authentic narrations or not? There is a principle called from the narration of hadith man balagh. I don't know if you've heard this hadith. Have you heard of hadith man balagh? There's a narration from the Prophet. Basically says is, I don't want to get into this concept, but the ulama have accepted it. It says that if you see a narration, and in that narration there is reward, and in that narration says, for example, if you do this action, you're going to get 10 thawabs, right? If you do this action, you give somebody water, you get this much reward. And then later on in the day of judgment, in reality, that narration is proved to be wrong. Right? What happens then? We reread it, we thought it was right, we acted upon it, but the narration is wrong. The Prophet never said that. The Imams never said that. When you use hadith man balagh, it means basically if somebody hears, if a narration or reward is brought to somebody and they thought it was correct and they acted upon it, they will be given the reward even if it comes out to be false. So this narration of hadith man balagh, which is, there's many different sources of it, it's an authentic narration. This is used to basically make up for those narrations that are weak, that promise us rewards. This narration is as if you're promised a reward and you thought that it was true and you acted upon it, you will be given that reward. Now some say you'll be given the reward in reality, the real reward. Some say you'll be giving the reward in the narration. So be rest assured, when we read hadith about mustahabbat, about recommended actions, because of the narration of hadith man balagh, it says you will be given that reward. So you don't need to check and see the exact authenticity, check all the narrators, see if it's connected, if it's not connected, see if they're reliable or not reliable. According to hadith man balagh, these narrations that we have, and they tell us thawab, you'll be given that reward. Please recite a salawat. So this narration said if somebody helps his wife out, a husband that helps his wife out, they'll enter without hisab. Look at other narrations. If you want to get such a great reward, it's very difficult. So marriage is a great opportunity for the husband, and it's a great opportunity for the wife. Now I'm going to read some narrations for the sisters. A sister that brings water for their husband, and we talked about one of the three things that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said recommended for the wife. One of it is to be at service, to help the husband. If a woman brings water for the wife, for the husband, and he drinks it, it will be equal to the worship of 1 year fasting and 1 day and 1 year of worshiping Allah if he just brings them water. Right? Just a little bit of water. Then it says for every drink he has, the husband has, they'll be given a city, not a home. It says Medina. It says a city, they will be giving a city in heaven. And then Allah will forgive for them these amount of sins. So both for the man and both for the woman, there are these narrations that if somebody really wants to get a lot of reward from Allah, or if somebody really wants to refine themselves, they can find it in marriage as long as they don't destroy it. They don't bring the water and then later on they say something else to them after they give them the water, for example. They truly, and they serve them water and they do it for Allah. Remember, these actions, if they want them to count as ibadat, they should be done with the qasd qurba. It should be done with the act that I am submitting to Allah, that I want to be close with Allah. Right? It's not out of fear, not out of the husband threatening them. It should be done sincerely for Allah. So that was one aspect that I wanted to mention to you, brothers and sisters, that those that are not married and those that are married, they can have this outlook that marriage is a holy place for me, is like a masjid. It is like, for example, the month of Ramadan for me, that if I do a little bit, if I try a little bit, I will reach very high stations. Even though you might not cry, it might not be like reading Dua Kumail or reading Dua Abu Hamza, you might not cry as much, but doesn't necessarily mean the more you cry, the more reward you'll have. There are some types of actions we do that it says, especially in bid'ah and innovation, it says that shaitan will come and will make you cry even more. Shaitan will come and make you cry even more. So that's not the criteria for what's, going to get me close to Allah. Do I feel greater? But slowly and slowly, if you do these actions, inshallah, you will notice change in yourself, and it is a great opportunity. The second thing about, we said, is the place of self-refinement is a place of jihad al-nafs. It is a place where a person can fight against his desires. It is a place where a person grows. Because if a person that does not confine his nafs or train his nafs, they're a childish person. They haven't grown up yet. They didn't have responsibilities. We have many young people today that they act like childs. They do whatever they want. They're not ready for marriage because their parents didn't teach them to oppose your nafs. Condition them that whatever your nafs wants, whatever you want, you don't have to have right then. We're going to go through this. But so marriage is a place because you're going to be living with somebody that 24, say in the weekend, 24 hours you're going to be with them, and they're going to do something that you're not going to like, and you're going to do something they don't like. So you have sabr. You wait a little bit. Then they might say something. Then you get a phone call maybe from the in-laws, and the in-laws, you don't like them either. And then they call you, and so you have more sabr. Right? So inshallah, everybody has good in-laws and good family members, but I'm just saying, in general, there are some people here that don't even need these talks because they might be angels already, and they're the hur, they're the great men of heaven already, and they don't need these talks. But a normal human being, he gets into arguments and gets into fights. This is very natural. And when these fights happen, there's different reactions that the husband or wife can have. They can either have an equal reaction and cause a greater fight, or they can be patient and have the akhlaq of the prophets and the imams. In one of the narrations, it says, if a husband bears, if a wife says something bad to the husband, and the husband bears this, it says, وَقَالَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامُ Imam Baqir, in the book of Makarim al-Akhlaq, مَنِ احْتَمَلَ مِنْ إِمْرَأَتِهِ وَلَوْ كَلِمَةً وَاحِدَةً أَعْتَقَ اللَّهُ رَغْبَتَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. رَغَبَتَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. If a person bears one word, it says, from their wife, like, you have done nothing good for me ever in my life. So one word, one sentence. And he bears this and doesn't say anything. He says, I don't want to mention what good khair I did for you. Allah knows if I did khair or not. This will be freedom from the hellfire. It's not just Joshan Kabir. that we go over and over. "Khallisa min an-nar ya Rab." It's sometimes those things that hurt you, and it goes in your ear, and you gets your face red, and you want to, especially those that are young, they have a lot of energy, and they're going to use this as an opportunity to tell them whatever they wanted to tell their wife for the last few months. It says here, if you have tahammul, if you wait and you have patience, you'll be freed from the hellfire. So this jihad an-nafs here is showing us that if a person does this, they will not only get great reward, it's going to be great refinement for us. Sometimes, unfortunately, a lot of times we take Islam in a way that we like. Because I like this action, I like that fasting, I like that ziyarat, I'm going to do those. But those things that Allah wants, we don't do. Let me give you a story, for example. If a person thinks that they can reach Allah without having a good family, without being respectful to their husband or wife or to their kids, let me give you a story. One of the great scholars, I'm not going to mention his name, he usually goes to the north of Tehran, north of Iran in the summer times. He is somebody that's known to be a spiritual wayfarer. When he goes to the masjid, and it's in the summertime, he'll speak a little bit in the masjid, he'll pray a little bit, he might teach a little bit, but because of his program, he has to sleep because he's old, he has to sleep these few, say an hour or whatever, hour, 2 hours, he has to sleep. One day when he was sleeping, kids in the street or kids were making a lot of noise. So he really needed that. If he didn't rest, because he did a lot of worship at night, it would ruin everything. And a lot of people, if you've noticed this, those that worship a lot, sometimes, if you see them a lot and they do a lot of dhikr that night, their eyes might be really red, and they might be a little bit upset the next morning because they didn't sleep and they put a lot of pressure on their spirit doing this dhikr, so they might not be the happiest of people the next morning. So he woke up and he saw these kids they woke him up. He said something to the kids, not his own kids, they're in the street. He got really upset. Why did I do this? Why did I say this to these kids? Got upset, kept thinking about it. And then he told his family, he says, you know what, I have to go. I have to go on a trip. I have to go on a vacation. Why did I? He kept thinking about what he did. He just yelled. One instance, he didn't hit them. Just yelled at them, treated them harshly. He went and visited one of the students of Ayatollah Qazi Tabatabai, who was the teacher of Ayatollah Allama Tabatabai, teacher of Ayatollah Bahjat, the great mystic Arif in Najaf that had many different karamats. He visited one of his great students and he said, you know, I have to talk to you. I have to talk to you about something. And then he said that student of Marhum Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Qazi Tabatabai told him this. He said that, you know what, I had a dream of our teacher. And sometimes great souls, they come in dreams. They might even guide the student in dreams. He said that I have a dream and my teacher said this. He said to you, to tell you this. How does he think that he's going to meet the 12th Imam when he behaves this way? How can he meet the 12th Imam when he behaves this way? And then he said that that's exactly why I came here to talk to you about. I yelled at these kids. And then he told him, how does he think he can meet the 12th Imam this way? This is the seriousness of the way we treat people, the way especially family members and kids and wives and husbands, that if we sincerely think that we will meet the 12th Imam, we have to be very careful on the way that we act. Please give a salawat. So we said, let's change the outlook on marriage. Let's change the way that we think that marriage is going to serve us. Let's look at marriage as a project and a place of worship, ibadat, and a place of jihad and nafs. And this intention, when a person wants these young people that are here that aren't married, make this intention in your hearts whenever it's qismat for you to be married, that I'm going to start this because Allah wants it, and I'm going to use this as being a great abd of God. This intention. When Imam Ali alayhi salam was asked about Sayyidah Fatima, salamullah alayhima, on those two great souls, he said about her that she is ni'mal aun ala ta'atillah. She is the best helper for the obedience of Allah. If I want to obey Allah, she's my best helper. So before we get into marriage, think, I'm going to obey Allah, and I want somebody to help me obey God, to be a servant of Allah. The second thing, once we start and we talked about respecting each other, now we're going to talk a little bit more about kids and raising kids, and how come we have sometimes in different countries, not just in this community, in different countries, we have kids that might not be as spiritual or religious as how we wanted them to be. First thing we said, niyat, your intention. If your intention is for Allah, anything, if your intention is for Allah, He will help you the rest of the way. If your intention is for the beauty of that woman, if the intention is for the wealth of that husband, Allah will not help you how much you want Him to help you. So that intention that I'm going to serve Allah, I'm going to have a kid that's going to be baghiyat salahat for me, that will do dua for me when I'm dead. I'm going to raise a beautiful kid that this is the least that I could do for the 12th Imam. I'm going to give it in the way of the 12th Imam. He will be a servant of the 12th Imam. These are different intentions that we can have. And once you have an intention like that, Allah will help you. The second thing is balance. We need balance in our families. Sometimes, and a lot of times, when we hear about these stories about people hurting each other, what happens when a woman speaks bad to a husband? What happens when a husband mistreats his wife? The kids here look and they see that fatherly figure who is like a commander, as a leader in the family. Now he's dhalil, he's weak. Mom stood up to him, said whatever she wanted to him. He's weak, he can't even answer back. Day and day he comes home and mom brings him lower and lower and lower. And the kids, now they don't have anybody to discipline them, right? They don't have anybody that they're afraid of, right? What happens when the father mistreats the mother? Right? When he breaks her heart, it's much easier for the father, for the children to break the heart of the mother now. Every day when she comes home, he breaks her heart, she cries. So now when the kids look at mom, okay, I broke her heart too. Our daddy does it every day, so let me do it too. So when you break, and one of the ulama said this, said that the father is like, one of the speakers said the father is like the commander, the mom is like the queen of the house, right? The queen needs love and affection, right? The father needs respect. These are two things that will cause balance, inshallah, in our lives. Women, give your husbands respect. Men, show your wives love. Tell them over and over, and we said that is mawaddat, even if you might not necessarily mean it at that time. But show it to him. Tell him I love you over and over and over. And then the kid will say, whoa, I have to be careful about my mom, not to hurt her, not to break her heart. Then the kid will say, oh, father is home. Especially when the mother respects him, he comes home, she rises, right? Or when he wants to leave, she, takes him to the door. He says, well, father is home. He is a very important figure. I'm afraid. And then mother, she's here. She's very compassionate. I should not be very sensitive towards my mother. This will give us balance in the house. They asked one of our great speakers, and he's in Iran, a woman that used to train people and teach them about hijab, and was a religious instructor, a woman. She said that I trained and I made a lot of people in Iran muhajjab. A lot of my students, I made them have the hijab. I helped them wear the hijab. But my own daughter doesn't have the hijab. What can I do? And told the speaker. And the speaker said, let me ask you something. Do you disrespect your husband? She says, sometimes. Well, he's like a construction worker. He works. He doesn't have much of an education. So sometimes, I disrespect him. And he said, well, your daughter, it's going to be very difficult for her to have the hijab. And basically she's saying, why? What's, and the answer is this. When you destroy the husband and the daughter, she needs, say, a lot of times a male figure that will love her and can show her compassion, and now you destroyed the father figure. And she does not listen to the father, and the father doesn't like the daughter as much anymore, and you destroy that love between them. She needs to feel loved in the family, and therefore she's not going to respect you or the father anymore. And if, God forbid, she goes and somebody tells her, maybe, I love you, or she's looking for that love, she had less love in her heart, she might get fooled. Compare that to a family that is very well balanced, and the daughter loves her father, and she doesn't feel that she needs love. So when a stranger or somebody talks to her and says, I love you, she says, well, how do you love me? You don't even know me. I'm not missing love in my life. So destroying the father figure, destroying the mother figure, it changes the balance in the family, and it will show the reaction, or shows its effect later on in different ways. I'm not saying if you follow all of this, everyone is going to have beautiful children. Some of the children are going to be like the children of Nuh, Nabi Nuh. They might not be the child of the son of Nabi Nuh. There might not be khair in them. There's not good in them. But what we do is we give them the opportunity to become good. We give them that chance. And a lot of the times, if we are very careful with this intention and with this balance of respecting and showing love, that kid will be, inshallah, have a good future. In some of our other narrations, I would like to talk about this. It's when we want to now discipline the child. When we're raising children, we said that the core concept is ubudiyat, or being a slave of Allah, and inside that is jihad and nafs. Both the father, both the mother, they should have been people that they refined their nafs themselves. And that slowly, when the child, it says in our narrations, when they're young to this age of 7, leave them alone, it says, basically. You don't have to completely leave them alone, but don't really start until the age of 7. After the age of, it says, ibnaka yal'ab sab'a sanin. Let him play for 7 years. I mean, it's up to your own discretion how much you want to help them or not, train them. But after 7, it says, وَيُؤَدَّبْ سَبْعَ سَنِينَ. But 7 years later, from the age of 7 to 14, the narrations say, make them mu'addab, give them adab, train them. If they do something that's rude, tell them this is wrong. If their room is going to be unorganized, have their room be organized. Give them a schedule, manage them. Between 7 and 14, manage them, so that they also fight against their nafs. Fighting against the nafs is not only for the urafa or for the ulama or for those that go to the masjid. It can start at the age of 7. That a kid learns structure, learns organization, learns that he can't have everything anytime they want. They can't have their cell phone anytime they want. They can't have TV on 24 hours. You limit it. When you limit the hours of TV, you're teaching them jihad and nafs, fighting against the nafs. Their nafs wants to watch TV. You're telling them, the aql is saying, you have homework, you have organization, you have things to do. Watch it this time when you're done with your homework. So some say make it very even strict between the 7 and 14. They say make it like, I don't want to say like those military schools or whatever for the kids. I don't want to upset the kids if they later on they say what I'm saying to them. But make it very difficult. Show them love, but give them a very organized home. Both the parents have to have this, and also for their kids, the hours, being clean, being responsible for their own beds, for their own clothes. Right? From this age of 7 to 14, you're managing that kid, and you're managing how that kid, you're teaching him to do jihad and nafs, even though he's small. Some say, no, this is too early, wait till they're 18, 21, that is too late. That is too late. Once they're young and you bring that organization and the family, then it says, the narration, so from the age of 7 to 14, give them adab, you adab. سبع ويؤدب 7 سنين وألزمه نفسك 7 سنين. Be with them, be as a consultant, let them consult you after the age of 14 to 21. Now you're just advising them. You're their advisor, you're telling them what to do and their affairs and their organization and their jihad and nafs. Now, but in the age of 7 to 14, when they're young, you start, not in the harsh way, of course. And I'm going to say some things that parents, unfortunately, when they want to discipline their kids, they do it the wrong way. But in that age, from 0 to 7, let them play. From 7 to 14, manage them. And then from after 14, you start to 21, it says. Till 21, you be their consultant. Some people, when it comes to disciplining the kid, they learn the kids are smart. They don't have to be a teacher of akhlaq to understand this, but they know that when daddy's mad, I can't get away with anything. When daddy's happy, I can get away with anything. I do. They know this, and they know that when you're yelling at them, you're yelling because you're angry. You're yelling because you can't. In reality, is you're not controlling your nafs. You're not controlling your own nafs. So the kid sees, well, why is he yelling at me? Is it for what I did or because he's angry? He says, oh, because he's angry. So he doesn't really take your discipline as a true act of something to act upon. But now look at it this way. If a person makes himself calm, and we says one of the goals of family and marriage is tranquility. Even when he's angry, he lets it go. But when he's completely calm, he talks to the kid and gives him that discipline or that lesson that he needs to learn. Not when he's angry. Then the kid sees, my dad has fought against his nafs. He's not telling me this when he's angry. He's telling me when he's calm. And also the opposite, not letting them get away with everything because I'm happy now. Sometimes we're disciplining kids according to our own emotions, right? But if you do it according to your aql, what is needed right now, it is like the story of Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he fought that great champion of Quraysh, Amr ibn Abdul Wad. And Amr ibn Abdul Wad spit on Imam Ali's face. And Imam Ali left. Amr ibn Abdul Wad thought that Imam Ali left. Then he came back. Then when he came back, Imam Ali, then he decided to give him, his punishment. Right? So he didn't do it while he was angry. He waited, and then did it qurbatan ilallah. Right? In the battle of Khandaq, that his hit was better than worth the ins and jinn put together their actions. He waited, and then when he wasn't angry, he did what he had to do. Also the same way for the parents. When they're angry, and I know it's very difficult, you have to do jihad an-nafs yourself. And I say this to myself too, work on ourselves, and that when you want to give a lesson or discipline a kid, it's not while we're angry. It's while we're actually the most calm. And the kid realizes that he deserves it. He deserves it then, and you're also teaching him a great lesson of fighting against the soul. Please give a salawat. Because I like to always have speeches balanced. Somebody maybe has heard me and say discipline, and I didn't say hit or whatever. And of course, don't compare what Imam Ali did to Abd ibn Abdul to your kids or to hit them. No, that's not allowed. You're not even allowed to change the color of their skin. If it changes the color, there's diya, right? If they change the color of their skin, you teach them with your mouth, your actions. Some might think I'm talking about organization, discipline, but also at the same time, love. One of the ways that somebody can have kids, train kids, or discipline kids very well is to show them love and to be their friend. In one of the narrations, it says about love, أكثروا في قبلة أولادكم. Kiss your children a lot. Kiss them. بكل قبلة درجة في الجنة مسيرتها 500 عام. In every kiss that you give your child, there's a level of heaven that's equal to 500 years. Every time you kiss your child, fi sabilillah, for Allah. So it says, show them affection. It even says, the narrations, when you kiss one child, be fair, kiss the other one. Even though this one might be kinder to you or whatever, but be very, very fair with them. Don't do zulm and injustice. Choose favorites. Love them all at the same level. You kiss this one, kiss the other child too. So showing affection, showing love to children at the same time as being very organized, showing them that you cannot have exactly what their nafs wants. You can't watch TV, cell phone, have these snacks that you want. At the same time, you will be giving that kid that balance, inshallah, that they need. And of course, okay, so that is, I think, about enough for raising children. And to maybe put it all together, it is taking an Islamic, inshallah, approach to raising children, starting a family. And we said one of the greatest intentions is that a person will bring children so that they can be soldiers of the 12th Imam. And when we look at these narrations, this is one of the greatest ways to have that balance. Know that when we mistreat each other, we're depriving ourselves of the reward of marriage. And also, we're also ruining our children. When a husband disrespects the wife and the wife disrespects the husband, you're making the kids susceptible to problems that they can come out later on in life. We can dim the lights a little bit. Please recite a salawat. One of the beauties of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, that he showed the world. And many of us, maybe we didn't really think about this aspect of Imam Hussein, because Karbala has such great lessons for us, all of Karbala. Is the fact that Imam Hussein had beautiful children. He was a great father, and he was a great dad, and those children, however many they are, 10, 12, 20, that were in Karbala, many of them, after Imam Hussein was martyred, they were abused, they were hid. But it says one of the commanders that was taking these children and taking the family of Imam Hussein from Kufa to Yazid, said, now that it's all over, let me tell you, these children, the children of Imam Hussein, they had such great manners. However much we hit them, we abused them, they didn't say anything back. They were good kids. They didn't curse us, they didn't use bad language. And that's what makes the tragedy of Karbala even worse. See, my friends, when you have a rude kid and he gets smacked, that's something else. But when you have a little 3-year-old daughter of Imam Hussein, that her entire life she's used to sharing. They come to get her earrings, and they rip out her earrings, and she would, as if she would say, if you asked, I would have given you my earrings. This is the family of Imam Hussein. They had worked on their nafs. You want earrings? I'll give it to you. They're the family of Karamat. And these children had to see Imam Hussein be killed. Their father was killed in front of them. And they had to see on that day, when Imam Hussein was martyred in front of them, they came and they asked, they said, now that it's done, they've martyred Imam Hussein, who would like to ride over the body of Imam Hussein? There they say there was 10 people. 10 people were ready to get more of a reward from the enemies of God. And they rode over the body of Imam Hussein, the holy body of Imam Hussein. And imagine what the children, what the kids of Imam Hussein were thinking when they see the body of their father in such a way. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Ya Imam Hussein, you have the best kids. One of your kids was an infallible Imam, as Imam Sajjad. Show us and teach us the way to have a good family and to have good children, inshallah. Ya Allah, the youth of this community, Southern California, and the entire world, help them with their challenge of keeping their faith and preserving their Muslim identity and being a courageous person, inshallah. Help them in their facing the challenges of the nafs. Help them when it comes to challenges that they face, when it comes to stepping up and being a brave person and defending Islam, Ya Allah. Those that are sick in our community, those that are sick around the world, Ya Allah, cure all the sick. Those that are poor, those that are in hunger, those that are in thirst, may Allah remove their pain and afflictions. Those that are in war-torn countries that need peace and tranquility, may Allah give them peace and tranquility. Make us, inshallah, of the companions of the 12th Imam, and make our children, inshallah, of the companions of the noble 12th Imam. After you, please also give a Fatiha for the marhumeen of this community after you give a salawat.